Oh, hi there. I've recently stumbled upon this channel. It's called Vox, Vox. They just did a video a couple hours ago. What was it called? Something about inside Hong Kong's cage homes. I had already, had seen videos that basically gave the gist of them before. Um, this man who was touring the country, he was allowed to use a drone there and things like that. So he obviously got special permission to do so. And in light of that, that makes it a propaganda video. And if it's a propaganda video, then there's going to be some lies. And it was easy for me to pick out with the lies right off the bat based on just how I've trained myself and the way I've educated myself. For one thing, he was griping about uh, housing prices being too much and people living in small cages and things like that. And yeah, of course, that is a bad thing, but it's also because the country's overpopulated. That's their own damn fault. That's not even the government's fault for say. I forgot what percentage he said of Hong Kong is undeveloped, and that's actually not a correct term for it. A lot of it's mountainous regions, or at least difficult to build anything on, in theory. But in reality, most of them are military installations. They got, you know, IC, uh, IB, intercontinental ballistic missiles on them. Um, They got all kinds of things, all the goodies of the Western world. And they do this because China, to put it metaphorically speaking, are like the Zerg from the original StarCraft. I know there's a lot of people who aren't much younger than me who, are completely oblivious to the metaphor I'm discussing here. The Zerg were an alien species, one of the main villains in the series. Anyway, they could only build their sort of stuff on what they called creep, which was basically this slime that they could, build their mutant abortion military institutions on. And throughout the whole documentary, I mean, I understand he's in that country and he has to play by their rules. But I could see, young people looking at this and going, "Oh, I feel so intelligent and enlightened by watching this man speak on this Vox channel," and it's just like, no, you're a dumbass. You just were told something and it sounded nice, and now you believe something that isn't actually entirely true. There was some honesty there, but there wasn't a lot. Like, he did show some of the cages that some people live in, and they are very small and things like that. But he kind of, picked the cream of the crop ones. They get a lot nastier than that. A lot nastier. They don't want people seeing that, though. They don't want that image coming around because that would make Hong Kong look bad. Most people who travel there don't end up going down those ways. And the thing is, around those cage housing areas would be the ghettos. I mean, it would be like going downtown Vancouver, east side, at night. People don't do it. Um, because unfortunately, we're poverty and everything associated with it. Then there come gangs, and there comes drugs and illegal trafficking and everything bad. Those are things he left out because it's supposed to be an inspirational video about Hong Kong, and he kept insisting, Hong Kong is China, Hong Kong is China. Fuck you, Hong Kong is not China. It doesn't matter that the British signed a contract saying 99 years, and then, now they've, somewhat honored it, and for another 50 years, it'll be self-governed and all that sort of stuff. Of course, China's impatient, and like the Zerg and their creep, they're trying to influence that area. The thing is, where people get stupid is that they don't understand that they do that everywhere. Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Taiwan, especially. They really want to get into Taiwan. And a lot of those countries are right next to China as far as borders go. So I've said this before, when China, the big bully on the block, has an army of who knows how many millions, because it's not something you could Google search. When they knock on the door, you let their special ops in and they basically push you around. And then there's this illusion that Vietnam's a free country. There's the illusion that in Hong Kong, when they protested, when they were told a few years back that they weren't going to be held, they weren't in charge of who was to be elected for, what are they called, prime ministers or presidents? I think it's probably prime minister. Yeah, prime minister of Hong Kong. The thing is, the leaders in Hong Kong, and it's not just them, but obviously their descendants and their the future generations of Hong Kongers and things like that. They don't want to hand over power, not to the Chinese Communist Party, that's for sure. And it's an illusion when people go, um, there is only one government that runs China, and that way, when they spread their propaganda saying that a divided government system is why there's so much, bad stuff that happens within the country. That's a load of bullshit. It just is. You take Xi Jinping, for example. He's the ugliest poster boy you could ever find for an organization that may be, the top dog, but the thing is, in all the other districts in China, they're ran by different people, and there's so much internal conflict all the time. To even presume that the Chinese Communist Party rules all of China is absurd, absolutely absurd. The hierarchy doesn't work that way. There'll be somebody else ambitious for power somewhere else. And it won't be just one organization. It'll be others as well. And they'll have different reasons for doing things. And this is why China as a country has never been able to get anything done. Um, uh, yeah, and obviously Hong Kong, these guys who are in charge of Hong Kong, they're going to lose their power if they allow China to just walk right in. But then again, it's kamikaze time if it does get to that point. And you may go, well, okay, China has the advantage because they got a bigger landmass, so they can fire missiles from further away. But the thing is, Russia is there, India is there, and a handful of other countries are in the area. And do they want China firing missiles at anybody? No, because okay, say they fire missiles at Hong Kong because Hong Kong goes, you're not coming in here, and they fire missiles at them. Russia doesn't like the idea of China firing missiles. They don't like it at all because they go, okay, they did that then. What if in a month's time they decide they want to fire missiles at Russia? So in that area, um, tension is high behind the scenes, but it's not clear cut. There's different alliances and different reasonings, and just secret decision making and policies that are kept out of the public spectrum. We don't need to know about it. It's their problem. Um, like I give this guy props, for going there because I'm sure, it wasn't particularly easy for him. And I don't think he's an ignorant man. I just think that I don't like the message he sent, because he was, saying, oh, well, I don't like the idea of him going, it's China, it's China, it's China. I mean, okay, man, you may go to prison if you're over there and you say it's not, but don't be telling me on a Western media outlet that it's part of China, because it's not. Hong Kong is not part of China. And, don't take my word for it. Um, Take the people who will, abduct you and re-educate you so that you may be used as a propaganda piece because your opinion doesn't matter, which would be the Hong Kong government, which is probably a tiny little deal they made with the Chinese saying, look, we got to have certain people going, blah, 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 and, it's a big mess. It really is. I mean, the problem with Hong Kong is it's way too close to the mainland. And if I'm not mistaken, most of the water for Hong Kong um, comes from China. That's just the way the rivers go. That's most certainly the case with Vietnam and India. Is it Tibet, where this big river comes from down from? The Chinese are in control of that area, um, and the United States shipping water to Hong Kong is just there's nothing of value there, other than a satellite state, which basically is a kamikaze suit in the area against China. Now the South Koreans, they're a bit better off. They got some distance, and same with the Japanese. And Taiwan also is at a I won't say safe distance, but we're not safe for them, safe for us. So you can understand that these Asian countries are going, well, we hate this big asshole on the block, but the United States is going, well, we may help you, we may not, it's not very clear. We're not going to be very precise about that. And that's intelligent, policies and things like that. Um, I did watch how, you know, also he made another video, I forgot what it was called, basically about Hong Kong as well, saying that, their economic growth improved exponentially um, over the years and things like that. And the thing is, they totally did, even at the beginning of, British occupation of the island. In fact, so much so that a lot of Hong Kongers look at mainland China and, they think they're backwater. They're from backwaters and they're embarrassed. They don't want to be associated with them. And I don't blame them. There's a lot of corruption, a lot of misdoings, and, just people running around doing bad things all the time. And okay, for people going, but Hong Kong was originally part of China. Shut up. Just shut up. Like, you got so many fucking idiots who just have stupid opinions about things. You may not know this, but China is a great big giant asshole. And great big giant assholes, as explained in Team America, want to shit on everybody. And they would if they could. Uh, he mentioned, this might have been in his Trump videos, because I watched one of his Trump videos too. And this was earlier when Trump, did Trump already get elected at that point? Anyway, he made his video November 1st. Seem to remember the vote happened in November 11th, but I could be wrong about that. All I remember was him winning and me drinking a bunch of booze. That's what I remember. And it was a good day. But yeah, they were saying that, yeah, they don't like Trump's policies, and, he's backing out of deals with NATO to protect them against Russia and things like that. But what people fail to understand is that, Russia um, could be caught on a war on two fronts with NATO and the United States, which would be a disadvantage for Russia. And if China just said, hey, we want to join the party, then, Russia could get condensed. So when Donald Trump says, look, there are countries within NATO that are basically just mooching off us, he's right. They got nothing to offer, and they're not exactly participating quite well. And what all this has to do with China and Hong Kong is secret backdoor dealings. The Chinese government, what they want to do is take over Hong Kong, and they will use force. And as I said, when they knock on the door with millions of soldiers behind them, they only have to let in a few special ops guys, or even just some political business leaders, make decisions. But if they're just, gonna roll over and do what they say, then what if the Chinese go, well, we got used to people rolling over and do what we say. Let's go up north and see if the Russians are gonna buy that. No, they're not. And people go, but China has no interest in that. You are one dumb motherfucker. They don't tell you to your face. They have secret boardroom meetings behind your back that you're not aware of. What the fuck are you, a retard or something? When they're announcing such plans, that's when you've got to crap your pants because the whole system is fucked. And, what Donald Trump is saying is that our position has to be a bit more of a mystery because, our traditional allies are, they got opinions of their own and they contradict American interests. They just do. We don't have, like, the Americans do not have to go along with NATO and all the decisions it makes in Europe. They don't have to do that. If Russia's offering them a better deal, especially in regards to a defense against China and an offense as well, if they got some of the best cyber hackers in the world and whatnot, um, it's very important that we keep our options open. And there are countries that have shown their hand and they're just flat out not to be trusted. And China is one of those countries. I know a lot of people grew up with the Russians and the fear of invasion from them. There was a Cuban Missile Crisis and all that, and they haven't forgiven the Russians for that. Okay, I understand that. That was, that's not good news at all, but that wasn't Putin. Putin was alive then, I believe, but, he didn't make any of the decisions then. Um, and the thing is, like, it's just you can't hate a country 50 years, or you can, but 50 years on from reasons that happen from under a different regime and obviously different rules and just different things. Like you still got people hating on Germany, and it's just like, oh yeah, they lost that war back in 1945, and then the Soviet Union sat on them until 1991. So again, shut your fucking mouth. Like, how long can you complain about something? I mean, there's a lot of World War II vets, and that was their life, was that they were complaining a lot about it. Like, there would be ones who would be wounded, of course, and I guess it's a bit harder to go, well, I forgive them now if you're not very intelligent, uh, because you get a soldier going over to fight the Germans. It's just peon versus peon, and it happened that the peon shot the other peon, wounded him, and the peon don't make decisions. The peon got put there by people upstairs, and the people upstairs didn't make very good decisions to prevent this from happening. So just to go, oh, a peon shot me, therefore I hate everything about this, is, it's not, it's just stupid. I mean, obviously, if I got thrown out there as a peon and another peon shot me and wounded me, I'd hate that peon's guts and I'd think about why I was there. But to say if I was a little old man now from World War II and that happened, would I hold the same grudges with everything that's happened since then? No. Especially if I outlive the other peon. Yeah, for sure. But that's, just a combination of reasons why um, there's difficulty in Europe and NATO and the relationship with the United States is that all these countries all have their own opinions and they all want to flex their political muscle, and a lot of it, is anti-American. And when people go, well, the Americans are, weakening their ties with the European NATO, um, what if it's the other way around? What if it's European NATO caving into the Russians intervening? I don't think much of that is happening. I mean, this is another thing you got to take into consideration is that Russia, okay, there are a lot of really poor parts of Russia, but it's a self-sustaining country. It can self-sustain itself, uh, as well as many European countries. And the thing is, a country like China, not necessarily. It can't. Uh, I mean, agriculturally wise, it's, like 20% of their arable land is unusable because it's so toxic. And that's probably a low ball figure. There's probably more which is toxic, but, it's just like, well, you'll probably get cancer, but from growing crops here, but, it'll happen over time kind of thing, Um, the two countries in the world that have the most trouble self-sustaining themselves would be China and India. They're both countries that would want to spread their influence if they could. As it were, India is very incompetent, a lot of internal corruption, and their military hardware is just not as good. They're not going to win. So they know that, and they wouldn't even try. But the Chinese, they do have this egotistical thing where they do think, especially in regards to the South China Sea, that when they say something, we gotta respect it. And as I've said before, fuck you. I don't respect your decision-making policies over there. And the leadership in China is totally fucked. And anyone, I don't care if you're white or whatever you are, if you're fucking saying anything nice about the regimes in China, you can go fuck yourself. I can't believe there even is such thing as you know a boiled egg, white on the outside, yellow on the inside. Like I watched Dragon Ball Z like a lot of people my age did and things like that. And you know what? Not everything that comes out of there as far as propaganda is actually, like good. In fact, most of it isn't. And there's so many things I could go on about, their propaganda and, like how it's just stupid. But that would be a whole other video. Um, yeah, I would recommend checking out this Vox channel, watching some of their videos. Um, I, I give him props for making the video, but I have no respect for his opinion. I really don't. And it's shitty to say because, if this were a live conversation with me and Vox as he was making that video in Hong Kong, it wouldn't make him look good, now would it? But I went, that's kind of your problem, not my problem. And the fact that you're saying that uh, China belongs to Hong Kong belongs to China, and therefore that's a symbolism of your mindset. Because I live in Vancouver, as I said, and the creep is trying to come over this way as well. And a lot of people are oblivious as to what that is. It is, a westernized spin on it, so people are deceived and don't see it for what it is. But when you go on, you know, public transit and things like that, and all you see is Asians everywhere, guess what? That's called a civilian occupation force. That's not called multiculturalism. And a lot of people have this mindset that the white man has to just roll over for these people. And, Justin Trudeau, The man has literally bent over and spread his ass cheeks to Asia and said, "Come on in." And there's some people going, no, no, we're not doing that. I don't care if it makes me sound like a, not nice person. Uh, Like, this is why I don't like Canada particularly much. I mean, they've done good things in the past, but that doesn't mean I like them right now because they're making a lot of decisions that I do not agree with. And they're creating like little drones, little idiots, running around with the wrong mindset on what the problem is. I mean, I don't know, I grew up in a better age, I suppose, with Diablo 2, StarCraft, Command and Conquer, before it got all stupid. And that's the same with all those video games. They all turned to crap when they made the sequels to them. Um, and it's just like, I don't know. I think I was corrected because I made a meme. I said, uh, I was making a hockey meme about the millennials and how they can't really take part of the moment of cheering for a hockey team when they weren't even born yet. I was actually mistaken. Millennials are from 82, I believe, to 95. And then as Generation Z after that. Okay, so Generation Z, um, I'm sorry, but I think it's the millennials that are going to, uh, you know, be the leaders of the future because Generation Z are a bunch of fucking idiots. And okay, give them some time, maybe they'll get a bit smarter. But so a lot of them are in their early 20s, so it's something to consider. When I was in my early 20s, I wasn't particularly intelligent either, but I preferred my programming when I was my age as opposed to their programming now, which is part of the reason I don't like guys like this Vox guy. Like, it's a story that needed to be told, but I don't think he told it right. And, he's basically saying, come on over. It's great over here. I mean, you're going to notice some nasty things here and there, that's the hardship of, the Hong Kong people. And, we have to respect that. And somehow it's our fault. And, all these other underlying messages he was sending. And of course, all the camera shots he was showing, there weren't many people in it. Like it was all staged so that there'd be a few people, and they'd all look according. You only have to go downtown Vancouver, and like you'll see people in such a bad state that no, they're getting digitally edited out of this documentary. And, it wouldn't surprise me if the same thing happened when you went over there. Especially when you take into consideration that they're living in tiny little cages and things like that. There's probably a lot of disgusting, gross things that you don't want to see, and worse, disgusting, gross, mean, horrible things, as is per tradition. Um, so, I don't believe in this let's welcome the world and all be friends and that kind of stuff when you know that there are underground societies, secret gangs, and things like that that do not like you. They will take everything from you if they can. And a promise by corrupt politicians or whatever is far, by far, not good enough. I don't agree with that decision rationale at all. And you have to understand Canada is one of the best places to live in the world. Uh, Justin Trudeau said that. And it's no thanks to him. None at all. And, a lot of people like to go, oh, he's such a great man because he says nice things on TV. No, he's a fucking asshole. And, you know how I feel about that. Um, so, anyway, yeah. Check out this Vox channel. Have an open mind. And don't believe everything you hear. And, you know, like when you see something, really question it. Anyway, that's what I got. So I'll talk to you guys later.